I usually start my review process after watching a movie by first seeking some basic information. What date was it first released? What other works has the director done, etc. When I typed in Otogirisou and movie into Google to look into this week's film, I had to laugh when one of the suggested keywords was hidoi. Hidoi is a terribly useful word that, in this case, refers to something terrible or awful. Apparently, not many people liked this movie, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. Yes, this week we're looking at Otogirisou, or St. John's wort as it's known in English, and this one is another doozy, so let's go. As you may or may not know, Otogirisou was originally a sound novel released on the Super Famicom way back in 1992. Some of you probably weren't even alive then. A sound novel is pretty much what it sounds like, and although we tend to call them visual novels these days, they're pretty much the same thing. It was a novel that you read on your TV, and it came with music and occasional sound effects. Otogirisou was so popular that it helped kick off a sound novel boom in the early 90s, and to this day, it remains one of the most famous games from that era. I've actually translated and played a single run-through of this game on this channel before, and I'll leave a link in the comments if you want to check it out. But the game comes with numerous plots and variations to keep the replay value high, depending on what choices you make throughout the game. So, if you're adapting a sound novel that has over a dozen different scenarios, which do you pick to turn into a movie? Well, none of them. Kind of. Turns out that the movie is actually based off the novel, which in turn is based off the game, but also turns the game's main characters into game developers making the same game. Yeah, it won't get less confusing, don't worry. The plot of the game starts off fairly simply. Kohei and Nami are driving along a rainy road when Kohei spots a yellow flower on the side. It's a St. John's wort, or as it's known in Japanese, Otogirisou. He tells Nami the story of how the flower supposedly got its name. As the Japanese characters used to spell out this flower are younger brother, cut, and grass. There's a story of family betrayal in there that becomes the main motif of the game. Of course, another car suddenly approaches them from the other side of the road and they swerve to miss it. They crash, and as they head out to look for help, they stumble upon a large Western-style mansion where they can take shelter. Only the place is empty. Or is it? And how does this apparently random mansion actually relate to the both of them? If you're going to adapt a video game into a movie, you would think a sound novel would be one of the easiest ways to do it. After all, the story is literally right there. There's no gameplay to consider. It's pure story. All you have to do is turn that into a script and you're done. But that's not really what happened here, and Otogirisou is, to put it kindly, certainly a unique film. Or, as the Japanese might say, hidoi. It's certainly hidoi. The film was directed by Shimoyama Ten, who, by this point, had been working in the film industry in one role or another for about 15 years. He was mostly a television and music video director before this, however, with few movies to his name. The decision was made to film the entire movie digitally, rather than on film, which was still the norm at the time, and you can count the number of people who appear in the film on one hand. If you want to be generous, you can include a few fingers from your second hand for incredibly minor roles too. Why not? It stars Okina Megumi, who you may remember from a little-known movie called Ju-on, The Grudge. And if Japanese reviews are anything to go by, she's literally the only reason to watch this movie. It has a blissfully short running time of about 80 minutes, and was released in Japan on January 27th, 2001. That's almost a decade after the Super Famicom game came out, and almost 2 years after the remake for PlayStation, and the novelization. Just like the novel, the movie decides to take the game developer approach. Kohei is developing a game at a small indie studio, and Nami, his ex-girlfriend, works for him part-time. One day, she gets a letter informing her that her estranged father has died, and he has left her a mansion in his will. Kohei and Nami decide to head over and check this mystery mansion out, and Kohei hopes to use it as inspiration for the game he's working on. He takes a camera. They hop in the car, and off they go. All things considered, this isn't an awful way of trying to adapt a video game. It becomes a little meta, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Sadly, being meta is the least of Otogirisou's problems. The problem is that the movie doesn't really seem to know what it's doing, and yes, it's poorly made all around. It's very hidoi. As I mentioned earlier, the movie was recorded digitally, not on traditional film, and obviously was edited this way too. But the special effects are, well, to put it nicely, it comes across as very graphic design is my passion. There are weird moments where the scene seems to stop for a moment and the picture swirls and changes into various colours like you're on a strange trip. It does this a lot, and the effect is incredibly cheap. It's the type of thing you could probably have whipped up in Paint. I'm guessing the idea was to simulate a video game, but why? Why is a question you'll ask a lot while watching this film. The way the film was shot was also a choice. You have Kohei and his handheld recorder, but there are also fixed static shots that film Kohei and Nami throughout the mansion. This isn't even explained at first, so for me at least, I was confused as to whether this was yet another weird stylistic choice or if something was going on that hadn't been explained. Turned out it was the latter, and for some reason, the house is outfitted with security cameras in every room, and that's how we're watching them. Why? Again, who knows? It's not explained until later, so at the start it's kind of off-putting, but that's not even the best part. There are moments again where we're watching the two main characters through these cameras where the scene will suddenly stop and rewind, like ghost shows on Japanese TV where you're supposed to spot the ghost and then they kindly rewind so you can watch it again. The movie does this so many times for things that are barely scares that it's just laughable, and in the context of a movie, makes no damn sense. It's a movie. Why are we rewinding the footage? Creative choices are made all throughout this movie, and I'll be honest, most of them don't work. But having said that, I also find that's kind of the movie's charm. Yeah, I said it. Charm. This is not a good movie. Not even close. And yet, I don't hate it. Not really. It's just too damn weird to hate. There's something fascinating about watching a weird train wreck like this. If the acting had been better, and the story a little more interesting, this could have easily been a cult classic. It's a pity because the the light novel that this movie is based off is actually a really good story. Or stories. You can pick one. They're all good. I dare say the budget for this film was about the price of a family meal at McDonald's, and it shows. But I do appreciate that despite that, the mansion did remind me quite a bit of the mansion in the game. On the inside, at least. The shot of the mansion outside was hilarious, and yet another graphic design is my passion moment. As are most of the effects in this film. I can look past cheap as long as other areas of the movie stack up, such as the story or the atmosphere. Sadly, the story here is incredibly lacking and falls far too often on the side of putting me to sleep territory than anything else. It doesn't even follow the novel all that closely and changes quite a few things. So in the end, it's a movie that's only somewhat based on a novel that was also only somewhat based on a video game. Damn. If you've played the game and then watched this movie, you'll see nods and moments that are obviously inspired or taken directly from it. But if you're coming to this movie with no previous knowledge of the story, I can't imagine this film is in any way fun or interesting. Bizarre, sure, but fun? Well, I suppose that depends on what you want to get out of a film. This definitely feels like watching a movie based on a novel based on a video game made by a music video director with a budget of a large burger. So, if that's your thing, then grab some snacks and put it on. Like I said, this movie is certainly something unique. It's weird as hell and experimental, and it doesn't always work, but it's different. Oh, and the movie also comes with multiple endings, because it's based upon a video game, you see? Wink wink, nudge nudge. Yeah, the movie is experimental all over. Whether that works for you or not is up to your own tastes. If I had $1 for every time I saw the word hidoi pop up in a review for this movie, I could have retired last week. About the only positive things I saw across a large swath of Japanese reviews were that Okina Megumi was nice to look at, although her acting was wooden as a plank, and people were impressed with the bravery of the main character taking a shower in a stranger's house. The story should have been good, but it seems it was difficult to make it into live action, was one comment I saw that probably sums things up very well without resorting to any rude words. It wasn't very interesting. The movie itself was hard to see, and all they did was walk around the house. It just wasn't very interesting. Again, this just about sums it up. The movie is quite dark, literally hard to see at times, like you're on Game of Thrones and it's about time to stop caring about the final season. And for all its experimental moments, storyline-wise, not a lot happens. They just walk around and around the house, mapping it out for Kohei's game and trying to uncover Nami's childhood connection to it. Even that makes it sound more interesting than it actually is. If you were to ask me if I'd recommend this movie, I'd say yes, but with a heavy caveat. Know what you're getting into. If you're a J-horror fan, then you should definitely add this to your list just for the experience of something different. If you're not, then this film will probably bore you to tears. And if you're an Otogirisou fan to begin with, then you should definitely check it out. But keep in mind that it's a weird experimental music video without music that's based on a novel, based on a game, and doesn't really tell either of those stories well. Also, graphic design is my passion. Hidoi. Probably a word you won't be able to unassociate from Otogirisou now, but the fact that this film even exists is just fascinating to me. But what did you guys think? Have you seen Otogirisou before? It actually had a somewhat decent release in English with both subbed and dubbed versions, so if you have seen it before, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.